planned. We'd never seen that guy before. He seemed to take 10 minutes to say what he could in 5, but they were cool pictures and he looked like he had fun, so that's fine. Right, I'm the MC tonight. I'm going to be doing the set challenge and I'm going to be doing a couple of other things, so you're going to be completely sick of me by the end of it. So sit down and get ready to listen effectively. Couple of things I want to talk about in MC mode before I start. That's fine. And then I've got a quick presentation about the new venue, tonight. And then we'll get onto the set challenge. So, print hand-ins, some boxes up there. If you haven't bought your prints, go and get them. You'll have to be back soon to get them in ready to go. There's a separate box for natural history prints, which will be going to a separate judge for natural history judging. And trophies, a lot of more. So, all but one. Do you know whose? Oh, it's here. Look at that. That's a pretty good effort. All of it is going to be on the 13th of November, 2 or 3 weeks away, and we can have 4 images each for that, and hand-in to that can be right up until the 11th. Look so at that. Remember that, that's a really good fun competition to come in. We have independent judges with scoring 1 to 10, and we make, we found that those PI salons work best to make it a whole night of it, so we'll start at 7 o'clock with the viewing and judging, and we'll have a cup of tea in the middle so that the computer can churn out its solutions, and then we'll see what the results is after that. So have a bit of a think about what you want to put in there. It's a really good opportunity to get involved in something before the end of the year. Okay, that is the last of my viewing and judging, and we'll have a cup of tea in the middle so at this stage, but I'm going to now solutions, and then we'll see what the results is after that. So have a bit of a think about what you want to put in there. It's a really good opportunity to get involved. The CPS new venue. We have been looking at lots of places and talking to people about lots of places, but before we did it, we set ourselves a kind of requirement list. So we had, first of all, the must-haves. We wanted to have the hall available to us every Wednesday, so we can get away with from what we've had happen to us here and move on to a consistent program. So there's a few thoughts based on that that'll come into play next year as well. Seating for around about 80 people. This works really well, but it's a bit of an overkill. We actually don't need this much space. We could actually squash into the middle and be a bit more friendly. So we're prepared to accept a slightly smaller venue. It has to be darkenable so we can do the projections. That was one of the requirements, and it has to have options for supper. Our nice to have, or should have, as I said here, location. We've said that we would accept something pretty close to where we are on the basis that it's a kind of a quid pro quo. We're used to coming here. But if there's anything on a similar distance out the other side of the town or in Sydenham or whatever, it's something we're steering away from, primarily because no matter what you do, there'll be a significant number of people find it harder. So the default position was we'd really like somewhere in the central city. We are the Christchurch Photographic Society, not the New Brighton or Rangiora or Riccarton or anything. So Christchurch Central is our preference. If it's going to be in Christchurch Central, it needs to have good parking. I've put internet availability into the should, so the internet and the sound system and options for live stream in the should rather than must category, because that's something that we can invest in where necessary and upgrade facilities. So that's where that stands. And it has to be a good price. Good parking. The nice to haves were a storage area. The storage area here is fantastic. In fact, it's too big. We fill it up with junk. So it would be good to get rid of the junk, but we do need to think about storing of a number of areas. We put in the print display options along the side here and the lighting for that. So we've developed something here that suits us. we would like to have the ability to do that in a new location. Final night is not a deal breaker. We could have a second location. We could even come back here for final night if we needed to. We could hire a separate hall for that, but you know, it would be nice. And it'd also be nice to have a venue that we could potentially do weekend workshops and other bits and pieces. So that was our requirement list that we put together. We have looked at quite a number of options, but we ended up visiting 4 which essentially cover the range of options. There's 4 different types of places. The ones we went to were the Aldersgate Centre. That's on Durham Street. It was where the old Methodist church was that collapsed during the earthquake, and they've rebuilt it to a really fantastic new centre. We went to the Deaf Society rooms. We went to the Fendleton Community Centre. That's stretching it on location. It's not far from here, but it's not quite in our original brief. And the last one we went to was the Christchurch WEA, the Workers' Education Association. So looking at each of those, the Aldersgate, it's a modern church complex right in the middle of town. So it's got the location, it's got good parking, sort of a good parking area as part of the church, and off-street parking is available. It's very comfortable, it's very modern, it's got a great kitchen, it's got a fantastic big huge hall, which is a gross overkill for anything we would want. We would have to go into one of the smaller rooms to actually make it work. It has very modern equipment, but everything they have got we would have to use. There's nothing that we can add to that or change. So it has very little flexibility, and it would be okay to walk in and do your thing and walk out again. And it is a similar price to RCC. There are other options in town that we've made initial contact through with, we haven't sort of followed through, that are similar kind of modern buildings with good AV setups. For example, the Majestic Church further down on the other end of Durham Street, which is where the NZIPP had their convention last year, is another that would be an option, but just briefly talking to them and looking at their pricing structures about the same. So it's in the same order as what we're paying at the moment. So that's plan option number 1. Option number 2 is the Deaf Society. It's a recently renovated hall on Fitzgerald Ave. There are a number of places that are kind of like this Deaf Society that have halls that are used for wedding functions or other kind of functions as well. Typically, they are a bit more spread out within the community. They're sort of community and suburb orientated things. This is probably the only one that's central, so that's why we kind of went and looked there. It's got good parking, but not great parking. It's actually got rubbish parking during the day, but hopefully by the time you'd be there at night time, the street would clear up, clean up. It's quite comfortable because it's new and been renovated, but it's not well set up for projection. It would work at a pinch. They have a projector that they shine onto the wall, but they have, you know, windows around the edge that we just pretty much can't get rid of. There's not much flexibility for print hanging and other sort of stuff. They'd have to do their own thing. So possible, but not very excited about it. And it's a little bit cheaper than the RCC price, but still in the same league. A bit cheaper is the Fendleton Community Centre. It's the only Christchurch City Council facility that really suited us at all. There is one round the corner at Riccarton, which is a nice big hall, but that's not available on Wednesdays or Thursdays pretty much through, and it's also a bit hard to darken, so that was a line through that. So this one is an option. It's okay for parking, it's okay for location, but it's a bit dated and dingy, effectively. It does have some on-site storage for other places that use it all the time, so it wouldn't be impossible if we were able to do something. We don't know what the Christchurch City Council are like to work with in this area. They got us to go and have a look at it and then said come back and talk to their their next level up coordinators about a long-term lease. So we didn't get as far as that. It's big plus that it's about 50% of the price of RCC, so it's a significant drop in price. And the last one is the Canterbury Workers Education Association, or the WEA. This is an older villa-type building in the middle of town. It's on Gloucester Street, directly opposite the art gallery. If you know where you go down on the down ramp to go to parking underneath that, it's on the other side of the road, directly up there. It's got 9 car parks, I think it was, around the back, that would be primarily used for people who had, access problems. But the rest of the parking after 6:30 is free, so it's free parking all the way around there. So I'm sure you'd find somewhere. It's probably not a hugely different to here, given that a lot of the spaces are picked up. And at a pinch, if we were doing something, you can park in the art gallery car park across the road and pay some money. It's smaller than the RCC. Its hall has wooden floors, and the seats is not as flash as these ones that we're sitting on, so you might have to bring a cushion. Structurally, though, it's interesting. There will be some people probably who have done courses there. They run all sorts of interesting courses. And a couple of people commented about it, that it felt a bit old and musty and that sort of thing. It doesn't feel like that now, because they've spent just on $1 million on it over the last 18 months or so, upgrading it, earthquake proofing it, putting in a whole bunch of concrete reinforcing and repainting it, putting a new kitchen in, and so it's relatively modern inside for an old building. On the big plus, the team, when we talked to them there, were very keen to get us involved. They were very cooperative. Pretty much anything we asked, could we put picture rails up? And they said, oh, like these that we already have? Oh, yeah, that'd be good. Could we modify them so that they're they're not as big as ours? Could we put a front rail on those? No problem. Could we put some track lighting up? Oh, could we use it? Yep. Yes, please, they said. Live stream cameras and things are sort of things that they're happy with us to drill a hole in the roof and put a camera in there, so that's what we'll have to do. And we did talk to them about storage options, because they effectively don't have anything, but they're open to some thoughts about putting a shed outside or something like that. Yep. Yes, please. The downside is, in order to make that work for us, we will have to do the same sort of thing that's been done here over the years, like the screen. We'll take that with us, but the lights and the print boards and the curtains we put in here and we added to this venue, we would be looking to do exactly the same thing. And the kicker right at the bottom, it's about 50% of the price that we're paying at the moment, and we could use that. I don't know if you kind of got where I'm going with this, but the committee unanimously recommended the Workers' Educational Institute. So we've pitched that to them already. We're really keen on it. We're hopeful that this could be a positive move for CPS, and it could move us into a cool place and good things. The location in itself is great, right bang smack in the middle of town. It might be that we end up with groups of people meeting up for pizza before the CPS meeting on a Wednesday, and then trundling in after that, or doing something afterwards, or doing activity nights, wandering around the streets of Christchurch. There's all sorts of possibilities in there. The location in itself is absolutely. There's lots of stuff we can do. There's a park just down the road, I think. So yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so that's what our recommendation is. However, in order for that to happen, there's a bit of a process that has to occur. This is what the process is. We need to act now in order to have this secured by the start date of January 25th. They are starting to put together their program. They're happy to lock us out, lock up the Wednesday nights throughout the year out for us, subject to a few things, but we need to do something now. A proposal has already been submitted to their executive. In fact, their executive are meeting tonight, and we're hoping that they'll come back to us with basically a rental offer after their meeting tonight. We'll see, but that's what we're hoping. The problem is we're sort of steamrolling the whole kind of thing here, and there is scope for people to say, I'm not quite sure that we're comfortable where you're going. The Constitution states the committee must call a special general meeting if the Secretary receives a written request signed by 10% of the members. That's about a dozen people. So we need to put that out to all the members, and I'm going to email this to everybody tomorrow and say, are you happy with us launching ahead with this whole thing? And if there's a dozen or so people saying, hey, no, don't do that for whatever reason, it'll stop. It can be stopped by that happening, according to our rules. And not only that, we will consider any members written, like a proper objection, provided it's submitted by the end of next week. So we're not going to commit to anything until the end of next week. So effectively we're saying to people, if you don't like this, say something now and we can change track. But this is where we'd like to go with it. In the meantime, we will develop an estimate of the costs that we're going to have to commit to in order to modify the facilities. That's the audio, visual, lighting and storage, and we will be approaching the general membership at the upcoming AGM for some ratification to spend that money if we go with in the meantime, we will develop an estimate of the proposal. The bottom line is this can be a great move for CPS. That's certainly how I feel about it, and I'm pretty sure that's what everybody on the committee feels about it. Open to discussion now before we move on with the rest of the program. Let's just get some questions out of the way and park it. John. If anybody's interested, there's a little booklet here which is their courses that they're running this term, next term coming up. Come and have a bit of a look. It shows a picture of the building, and I picked this up the other day. I'm going to put it down on the desk with the books here, so come and have a look later. Yep. Yep. If anybody's interested, there's a little booklet here which is their courses that they're running this term, next term coming up. Come and have a bit of a look. It shows a picture of the building, and I picked this up the
across
other day.
at the gallery if you want to pay.
Like I said, there are, I think it's eight or nine parks around the back of the building, which we would probably say, you know, Diana can have one of those, for example, and definitely one for the president and whatever. They'll probably be semi-allocated.
Is there a bike stand across at the gallery?
Yes, there's a bike stand. Yep. And the rest of it's on-street parking, which would be the best way to go. There's plenty of parking there, and I haven't been back at Harbour 6, but they assure me that there's nobody parking in there by that time. And if it all turns to custard, you can park and pay. They'll probably Dennis worked it out, $2.
Is there a bike stand?
Yeah, it's not cheap, but it's right across the road. And the rest of it's on-street parking, which would be the best way to go. There's plenty of parking there, and I haven't been back at Harbour 6, but they assure me that there's nobody parking in there by that time.
Is there the opportunity to use it for other things? Have they mentioned that, or like for workshops? Or
Yep, there's a couple of good facilities. So what it has a hall which is probably a bit wider than this middle column thing, and it goes effectively to the curtain.
Is there the opportunity to
long,
use
and
it
behind
for
that
other things?
is a little
Have they
meeting
mentioned
room
that, or
which then
like
is
for
right
workshops?
adjacent to the kitchen. So they treat it as three meeting rooms, and then there's a third one which is half the size of the entrance foyer here. We may be able to, we're twisting their arm a little bit to get a good deal to take the whole place every Wednesday so nothing else is on. Albeit their executive meets there once a month on a Wednesday, so that's what's happening tonight. So it's possible we could use that, and Dennis has got a whole bunch of really cool ideas. He's disappeared down a rabbit hole using that second room already. So there are other possibilities there, but the main emphasis that we'd be looking to do is to rent the hall and the kitchen and the room behind it, because we can open that whole thing up and give us plenty of space. But we could do a Photoshop tutorial weekend thing on a Saturday morning, all we have to do is ask and pay the money. It's not particularly expensive. That we'd be looking to do is to rent the hall.
Ian.
Hello.
Two questions. Will we get like a tutorial or like a start of how we can start the live stream if we were to drill like cameras in the roof? Another question. Are members allowed to like have a look in the building?
Yep. Couple of points. Firstly,
Ian.
feel free to go and have a look. They're really nice, but it's quite chocker for the running courses and that sort of stuff. So we probably don't want 120 people walking in over the next couple of weeks. So do a drive past, have a bit of a look, and
Are members allowed
just
to
get
like
a
have
sense
a
of
look
where they're at.
in the building?
If we get a sign off from their executive and the general feeling of the CPS members is that we're happy with it, Gordon's going to go and have a look, and they have a sound system there which is relatively rudimentary, and basically we're going to get an estimate of what we're going to need to do to set up everything. We've said we want to be able to do live stream. That will probably involve getting a specific live stream computer. So there's money to be spent to get us in the situation that we're at the moment. We've got the money to do that, and we're happy to do that if that's the case. Basically, we're going to get an estimite of what we're going to need to
It sounds great.
Yep.
That sounds excellent. Seems to fit. I've just got one question. All that alcohol.
There's money to be spent to get us. Didn't ask actually. They didn't say no, but we didn't actually say, can we have a raging party here? So, yeah, don't know. Good question. We'll ask it. It's got brand new heat pumps as part of that overhaul.
All that alcohol.
Nelson.
Ian, what is the, for want of a better word, a province or history or ownership of the building? What I'm thinking of is that the RSA had this real flash, great big building, and the whole thing turned to custard within a few years. So what's the status and history and longevity of this building?
We asked exactly that question. You know, we basically said, here's a nice building in the middle of town. Is somebody going to come and buy it and pull it down, shift it off, and build a high-rise there? They have just spent $1 million. They own the building outright. They have got a healthy payout from the insurance. That's what's paid for their for the overhaul to the building. So as an organisation, they're committed to staying there. They're committed to providing courses, and they're doing that actively. I got the impression, we didn't get a look at their books or anything, but I got the sense that they are, you know, they've got an asset that's probably worth $2.5 million, I guess, that building, something like those lines that they own. But they're not hugely cash flow rich. They don't charge much for these courses, and so having a dedicated tenant each night for the Wednesdays and doing a bit more of that, because it doesn't get used that much at night. And it's got a long history. It's been here, we looked it up, but 19...
They've been in there since 1958.
Yeah, that was the date I was going to remember, but they've been here a while. They don't charge much for these courses, and so having anybody dedicated tenant... Is anybody going to put in the 12 votes of objection? If that's not going to happen, I'll go phew and move on. So, I'm not sure. I don't think we need to go and say all those in favour, because we've decided we're going to do it anyway. So we're just going to be one of those committees. Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Hang on.
Is anybody going to put in the 12 people are listening.
What is the actual fire restrictions for the number of people you're allowed in it? In like the hall?
I'm not sure. Can't remember. I think it was 100.
Well, that's very generous.
But yeah, not. Yeah. Yes, it probably is.
Hang on.
Is anybody going to put in the 12 people are listening? Yeah, I can't remember.
What
but
is the actual fire
the numbers all fitted for what we do. It's tighter. If we one of the discussions we had is what happens if we go into town, and being in town creates a huge membership blast, and suddenly we've got 180 members, then we might be, you know, pushing the thing. But if that happens, we'll just get real protective, and the price will go up for new members, and there'll be a waiting list, and we'll be exclusive and wonderful. But what happens if we go into town, and being in town creates a huge membership blast, and suddenly we've got 180 members, then we might be, pushing the thing. But if that happens, we'll just get. Yeah, and final night is something you're right that not everybody comes the whole time, so that's something we could bear in mind. But we do need to consider that could possibly happen. So, if we have the New Zealand landscape thing and we decide to run it there, then it might be ticketed, for example, and final night we could possibly run there if it was restricted and you weren't allowed to bring 10 people each or that sort of thing. And again, that's the end of next year. We'll discuss that if that turns out to be a problem. That could possibly happen. So, or we'll go somewhere else for the final night.
Rental long term, is it?
Yes, that's what we're going to get back from them. They've got a property lawyer as part of their executive team, and we did say, yes, here's your plan, but can you please prepare some sort of rental contract so that we know where we're
rental long term and rental increases. Thanks.
Yes, that's what we're going to get back from them. I get the sense that you're all quite enthusiastic. Is that a fair comment? Right, we're on. Okay. Yes, here's your plan, but can you please prepare some okay, let's get on with what we're really here for then. So that we know where we're
rental long term and rental increases. Thanks.
Yes, that's what we're going to get back from them. I get the sense that you're all quite enthusiastic. Is that a fair comment? Right, we're on. Okay. The set challenge. Okay, I can't remember when I put it out, that this was before I went away on holiday, and so this year's was a bit kind of out of kilter because I talked about this stuff and put the proposal there and then disappeared off to the other side of the world, so it didn't get pushed as much and reinforced as much as I would have liked, and consequently that is reflected, I think, in the number of entries. But however, there's a good healthy number of people have got involved, so that's a really good thing. But let's just restate the purpose of where we started off with. So the set challenge 2024, the purpose is to get people working with multiple images, to start thinking beyond the sort of single image sort of showcase thing and start working together. Let's just restate the purpose of what we started off with. So it is, when you start thinking along those ways, you're starting to prepare yourself for making honours submissions. Quite often, one of the observations that are made at the Honours Board is that people clearly haven't worked with multiple images much before. So here's an opportunity to do that. The emphasis that it's not a competition, it's a challenge. So I'm not going to give any awards or anything tonight. We're just going to talk about the pictures and celebrate the fact that people got involved, and that's really something we're looking for. And that last one is that we were looking for a creative challenge. So, and that particularly applied when it came to the Art for Art side of things. So we had in this set challenge two options, pretty much the same way we've done it over the last couple of years. The first one is the preparation for honours thing that I just talked about. So in order to do that, I asked people to create a set of 8 diverse images. That doesn't tie in with either the L or the A or anything, but it's just a starting point to make people start thinking about how to work with multiple images. I want them to be diverse. I want you to think about how you're going to show a range of skills and a range of different material, but it needs to be presented cohesively. And on top of that, that can be presented as a print or projected image. Most of them, apart from Heidi, have done it as a projected image, and that's fine. And the other option was anything goes, and that's where people have excelled and done all sorts of extraordinary things in the past. But the point of this is you actually have to make something, so this is a really good chance to get your pictures out of your computer and get them turned into something, a book or a calendar or something. So that's what we've done. I'm going to start with the physical thing because there's relatively few of these, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the work that's involved and then get the people who did it to talk about it a little bit before they go. So there's 3 entrants. The first one, right, and they're all basically books. Yeah, I did wonder, having looked at this, that is something we might do next year is how to design a book type tutorial and just work through some book making software. We could even just do that in Lightroom as an interesting exercise. It's something software that people have got that's fairly generic and will work with most things. But anyway, let's move on with the actual entrance. The first one was Newell, who unfortunately can't be here, but he's sent his book, which is well worth coming to have a look at. So Newell's book here, he's done a series of these. This one is My Photography, Colour Slides 1950 to 2007, 1950s to 2000, that's quite a long time. And there's some awesome pictures in here. I would recommend you have a look at this later on when you come up and have it, just to see the quality of work that he's produced, which won't surprise anybody. But to have a think about doing something like this for yourself and getting your work into something where people can see it. So this can sit on the coffee table or in the bookshelf at home, and if somebody says, what are you photographing, you can just pass on the book. I've done a couple of holiday things that I've just done recently. I've got an Africa one coming. That's really cool. We'll just sit on the table and it's a way to start talking about various holidays. So that's Newell. Unfortunately, Newell couldn't be here tonight, but make the most of having a look at his book. Please.
Particularly organised in little yellow Kodak containers, if you remember those, all stacked neatly in the shelves and things, and coded and all the rest. And along came 2010 or 11 or whatever earthquake, and they all got scattered everywhere, and just about broken. And I think it did, and most of them I think got binned. So it's something you put together as a tribute to Slide taking days.
Cool, thanks. I think I'd heard that story now that you mentioned, but it's well worth talking about. While you're there, can you pass that back to Diana, please? The next one is Diana, who's obviously heard Newell talk about this and pretty much done it. So tell us a story about these, Diana. I'll lift them up.
Well, everybody said when digital came in, and particularly the photography shops, you should print your photos. So I started at John's, but I started in, well, everybody said in 2008, and I joined, from 2000 to 2008, when I joined the club, and I started then, and every year since I've done a book, a little book.
So are these, I notice that some of them are images that you've put in.
Field trips.
Okay, field trips and competition entries.
Competition entries.
So this is a CPS, Diana in CPS record?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I started then, and every year
I think Jo does something similar, doesn't
Yes, she does.
Yeah. So there's something to think about to do with. You've already got those images. You've already produced them at a good quality thing. We'll teach you how to do book making. Come and have a look at her books.
Yes.
And yeah.
Yes, she does.
I think that's a really cool move to do. Have you done holiday ones and stuff like that as well?
I've done 100.
100?
Over the years.
You took that, you need to print slightly to heart, didn't you?
Well, how often do you look at the ones still on your computer?
Well, this is the shots of the computer
Yeah.
Have you done holiday ones?
I do them through Blurb because I think
You took that 100 to print.
the paper they use is very good. The layout is limited only by your imagination, and they have 3 different levels. This paper, paper copy. No, the paper they use is very good. The layout is and there's a hard-covered book and one with a soft with a 3 different levels. No, there's a paper.
Do they do a lay flat?
3 different. Yes, and they do. Oh, yes, they do a lay flat as well. I haven't got onto that. Paper copy.
Anyway, well done. Come and have a look and start thinking about your own books. The next book, can we pass this to John, please?
Yes, and they do. Oh, yes, they do a lay flat as well. I haven't got onto that.
All right, I've got 2 copies of a book I produced this year for my grandson's rugby team. I've been taking photographs of his team over the last 2 years, and the parents, I used to send the photos out to my son, and he'd deliver them to the parents, and they said, "Why don't you make a book?" So I did. You can see I've put their names on their jerseys. That's not actually part of the outfit. Welcome to have a look. I used diamond print. Seems to be quite good, quite easy to use. I must have a look at Blurb. It's only the 2nd book I've made. But what I did in the book itself is I tried to get the journey of rugby. So at the start it was the guys sort of warming up for the game, and then a little bit of tackle and a little bit of running, and eventually some tries. Oh, you want me to open it? I've only got 2 at one. Quite easy to use. What I did in the book itself is I tried to. It's only the 2nd book I've made. But what I did in the book itself is I tried to get the journey of the game rugby, and then a little bit of tackle, guys running, sort of warming up for the game. And then a little bit of tackle, a little bit of running, eventually some tries. It's only the 2nd book I've made. But what I did in the book itself is I tried to get the journey of what I did in the book itself is I tried to guys sort of warming up for the game, and then a little bit of tackle, a little bit of running, eventually some tries. A little bit of tackle, a little bit of running, eventually some tries. What I did in the book itself is I tried to guys get the journey of the game. Some of them come and have a look at those. The other thing I've got is in this little box here. Show this one now?
Yep, there it is.
Right. So we were overseas 9-10 years ago, and I saw this little thing in a place in Porto. The other thing I've got says keep calm and take photos. Come and have a look at those. And
yep, there it is.
Recycling toolkit. So
yep, there it is.
So instead of doing it like that, I had done one on paper like that, which you can do like a black and white image, but I've created 2 new ones.
Yep, there it is.
I've got magnets on them so you can stick them on the fridge. Magnet on the back.
Yep, there it is.
Magnet on the bottom. And it's got a whole lot of
yep, there it is.
images that I took down here. So you just do pop it under the fridge and it holds it straight. Do like a black and white. Those are some of the ones we did recently, JK.
What have you used as backing paper, John?
Backing paper was just simple, basic, well, it was a reasonably good quality, not just A4 type stuff.
Okay.
It was an A5, sorry, A3, so you managed to get it a little bit longer. You can do it any length you want.
What have you used as backing paper, John?
What you do is
What have you used as backing paper?
in the can. It's not difficult. If you've got one of those can openers, it's got a hook on the end and you put it on the side. You open the syringe. Put them on.
What have you used as backing paper, John? In the darkroom, you used to just hold them and thump them with the bit on the table, and the top would pop off.
You can do them that easy. Come and have a look. Here we go.
That's awesome. Round of applause to everybody who involved in the. So that's for art's sake, just to prove that kind of anything's possible, and just get out there and get your pictures out of your computer and put them into something. Now we're going to move on to the bulk of the entries, which were 8 images in sort of a preparation for honours kind of thinking. So we're looking for an 8-image set that had 8 different feelings or different skills, and the images must flow or hang together, depending on when they're prints. Some entrants made more theme-driven things than would be the sort of thing you'd expect in an honours situation with a licenseship or an associateship, but that's fine. The fact that everybody got involved, I think, and started thinking about putting together sets of images is kind of the point of this, so that's really well done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to display them in part but the way that they are done at the honours boarding. What happens there is, with the projected image, that's for the projected image ones anyway, they are presented on a 65-inch 4K TV, and basically a video is made, so they run for 6 seconds each, I think. Each print comes up, goes through the sequence, and then we see, so it goes through the sequence once, and it also has the title on it the first time through, if it's got a title. Then there is a summary slide which people submit as well, and then it goes through again, and then there's a summary slide at the end, and then the discussion ensues having done that. So the whole thing is kind of structured in the way that it's shown. So I'm going to do that a little bit here, just so people get to see that sort of style, and then we'll move on through for that. So we'll talk about each of them one at a time as we go through. So the whole thing is we're looking for creative diversity, cohesive diversity. Right, I'm going to start with Alistair. Now, Alistair Phillips kind of had $1 each way, and that he's created a physical thing that's really cool as well, and he has just presented some pictures, which he sent me some pictures which I have put together as if he had done that, but I've put them in the order that they are in his cool physical thing, and then it'll go from there. But he also sent me an artist statement, which I'm going to read out. So what I'm going to do here is read Alistair's artist statement. We're going to have a look at the images that he sent to me, then a digital presentation of the cool thing that I'm going to show you afterwards, and then I've modified some of the pictures to make them fit what he wanted. And so you'll get to see how the thing went together. Does that sound like you like? Righto, here's Alistair's artist statement. My presentation is images that I have taken on my travels since 2013. I didn't want to just make a collection of portraits. I wanted to have a theme. Something I encounter on my travels in all of those countries, not just one, something that was in your face everywhere you went, something that I could identify with as a Christian from the West, and something that was confronting. I decided to put them together as a set of 8 prints entitled Spiritual Asia. I had many images to choose from. One of the problems I have was which ones to use. Another problem I had was the orientation, landscape or portrait, and they had to flow. Then I thought out of the square literally. I turned all of the selected images into square format. It gave the images a totally different look, and a couple of the images I flipped so that it would flow in the correct way. I complemented the colours and started and ended with 2 strong images. I managed to include all of the main faiths: Hindu, Buddhist, Muslim, Sikh and Christian. Some may not like the tight crop, but I've come to know that as my style, particularly with portraits, and I think you achieve a more personal feeling close up and close encounter, which does add to the good memories from my travels. Some may not like it, but I've come to know that as my style. May not like the tight crop, but I've come to know that as my feeling close up and close encounter. I think you achieve, which does add to the feeling close up and close encounter, which does add to the good memories from my travels. Some may not like the tight crop, but I've come to know that as my style. I think you achieve, come to know that as my feeling close up and close encounter, which does add to the good memories close up and close encounter. Some may not like the tight memories, but I've come to know that as my may not like the tight crop, but I've come to know that as my feeling close up and close encounter. I think you achieve, which does add to the feeling close up and close encounter, which does add to the good memories. Awesome, and if we could have the lights on, I'm going to unwrap this little piece of wizardry. Yeah, it did feel like it was an interesting exercise in unwrapping it. The fish and chip paper has not handled the wrapping very well, but anyway, there's Alistair's set. We'll put it up on the wall at the side. We can go and have a look at it. So, well done, Alistair. The only other observation I wanted to make about that was the artist statement, because artist statements are something that you have to put in if you are including a fellowship for an honours set, and some people put in for an associateship. It's not compulsory, but you can. There's a fine line when it comes to writing an artist statement between producing a bunch of ethereal, arty-farty gobbledygook that doesn't mean much and it sends everybody to sleep, and on the other extreme, just a list of, I did this because, and it was F22 at such and such. Alistair's trodden that line really nicely, and he's talked about his holidays and the spirituality of it and what he was trying to achieve in making the picture statement. When you're making an artist statement, that's something you need to think about. Making it short, making it relevant, and making it an enhancement of your picture rather than anyway. And he talked about holidays and when you were making an artist statement. Okay, next one is Nerily, and I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to move forward and I can figure it out, make it relevant making it a enhancement. Anyway, and he talked about his holidays and the naturality of it and what he Okay, next one's Nerily. When you are making and I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, next one's Nerily. And I'm going to do the same thing. Making it a enhancement of your nature rather than relevant. Making it a enhancement. Anyway, and he talked about. Okay, next one's Nerily. When you are making and I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, next one's Nerily. When you are making and I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, next one's Nerily. And I'm going to do the same thing. Making it a enhancement. Anyway. Okay, next one's Nerily. And I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, next one's Nerily. And I'm going to do the same thing. Cool. Okay, well done, Nerily. I've got a couple of observations to make here about the way this was kind of put together. It's got a cohesiveness in that it's all taken in the same place. Poland, was it? Is it in Poland? So it's on a trip to Poland. Cool. And so it, by its very nature, they're all kind of consistent. When we look at the flow of what's happening here, we start with some art. The first two sit together really well. They're both images of artwork which is about the place, martial law, the horrible things that happens in the city. They're both talking about how the modern world reacts to that. They sit together well. Then we stay in the city and we've got the guy and his horse kind of waiting. At that point, so those three kind of flow and sit together nicely. We then jump out into the country and we then come back to the cultural thing, which I think might have sat better immediately following the horse and cart thing, or up in that part where we're talking culture. And then we go back to some artwork, and then we go out into the country, and then we come back into the town again. So if you can see what I mean, I think we just jump around a little bit by that. But that's kind of the only observation I can get. It does flow well, and it's got a cohesiveness because it's all about the same place. In terms of it honours set for licenseship, it probably isn't diverse enough when it comes to a wider range. In some respects, a licenseship set is quite often more of the best images that you've done in a wide range of things than something like this, which is almost project-based. But well done, good effort. Desmond. Okay, this is a series of street images, basically I'm going to call them, made in a specific location. Let's have a look at it. Well done, good effort. Desmond. Okay, this is a series of street images. Okay, this is a series of made in a specific location. Let's have a look at it. Basically, I'm going to call them. Made in a specific location. Let's have a look at it. Okay, this is a series of made in a specific images. Basically, I'm going to call them. Made in a specific location. Let's have a look at it. I'm going to call them. Made in a specific location. Let's have a look at it. Okay, this is a series of street images. Okay, this is a series of made in a specific location. Let's have a look at it. I'm going to call them. Made in a specific location. Let's have a look at it. Okay, I think that's it. Again, well done, Desmond. I think that set of images, tell me if I'm wrong, but I got a sense with it that it's like an apartment building or a place it's all about one place. You would have noticed that the exact same crop was used all the way through there, and that adds hugely, when it comes particularly to a projected image set, to the cohesiveness and flow, and it unites things really, really well. Not only that, they were all shot in a very similar type of lighting. They were all shot with a similar kind of style, and you come away from looking at that set of images knowing they were made about the same place and time and everything. There were a couple of stunning images in there. I particularly like the looking through the window at the chef, and I also particularly like looking down on top of the dude with the wheelchair. Those are the two jump-out images that stood out for me, but the rest of them held together cohesively, primarily because of that use of a single image crop and a single type of lighting and a processing that felt the same. Probably a set like this would struggle for licensure because it's a bit more thematic, and really at PSNZ Honours level they don't want you to talk, he doesn't want it to be as thematic as this until it gets to the fellowship stage. So, but well done and well worth putting together sets. Excellent. Diana. Don't want you to stage, so doesn't want it to be as thematic as this. It's well worth fellowship stage. So, well done and well worth because it's a bit more thematic. Diana. Really at PSNZ on that level because it's a bit they don't want you to. Diana. Doesn't want it to be as thematic as this. It's well worth fellowship stage. So, well done and well worth well done and well met. Diana. Really at PSNZ on that level because it's a bit they thematic. Diana. Really at PSNZ on that level they don't want you to. Diana. Doesn't want it to be as thematic as this. It's well worth fellowship stage. So, well done and well worth. Okay, cool. Really cohesive set because they're all fungi and they're all in the same form, and it's an excellent way of putting together the subject matter that holds it all together. Interestingly, there were small changes. If you look at this image, and I think it's cohesive set because they're all the width of the crop is not the same as the others. So this was really nearly a flowing in and out at the same time, and it could have been relatively easily. So I think taking, again, it's something I'll rabbit on about because it does make a difference. Make the crop exactly the same, so each of the images is the same. If we looked at the flow that went from here, they were all the same, and then we went from a wider one to a narrower one to a wider one again, because that one image was just a little narrower. So I think make the crop exactly the same. So there you go. So you knew what it was about. What I want to talk a little bit about is when it relates to an honours set and diversity within an honours set. Now, this is clearly not diverse. So when it comes to an open honours set, it wouldn't toe the bar. But there are some occasions when a nature set doesn't have to be the same. You don't have to show action photos and wide angle and all that sort of stuff if you're doing a nature set such as this. So something goes in for a nature set. But normally a successful nature set and an honours environment would have probably a sort of a timeline story, or it has a nature story associated to it with a number of images. So with fungi, what we've got here is a range of little plants and little colours and the kind of individual images that sit together. They don't cohesively tell me a story about the life cycle of a particular fungi or a particular area, that is more the sort of thing I think you should be striving to look for in there. But I think this came together really well, and well done for doing it. Just a few things to think about. Cool. Nicola. That is more the sort of thing, but I think this came together really well. Striving to look for in there, doing it. But I think this came together really well, and well done for doing it. About the life things to think about. The life cycle of Nicola area. That is more the sort of thing. Nicola. But I think this came together really well, and well done for doing it. Okay, there was no summary chart there, so I'm just going to let them flick through while I talk about it. I'm not blaming anybody for not reading the rules or anything like that, but that's just how it goes. My observation was I enjoyed the flow from the start. The first image had a dark subject, a light subject surrounded by a dark background, when we went straight to another one, which was the circles, and that introduced the element of circles, and then we went from circle to circle to circle to this one, and that jump there I struggled with a bit. I wonder if you would have been a more cohesive flow. That one had been the image one first, and you'd gone from the circle black and white to the raindrops black and white, then through to the flames, so raindrops and flames perhaps. Anyway, just a thought. I also felt that these last two images were quite different, and it felt like 6 and plus 2 was just my kind of thoughts on it here. But the bottom line is they were all really good quality portrait images, and you had put them together in a way that, did create diversity. They were different, they were demonstrating different skills. There's just a couple of them didn't tie in as well as I kind of would have hoped, but it's well on the way. So, well done. I just want to kind of emphasise here that I may sound like I'm being picky, but that's kind of the point of the exercise. So, yeah, I'm going to carry on being picky, but I'm saying well done to everybody at the same time. Unfortunately, Anne's not here. I hope. She said she's hoping to watch it on the live stream, so I'm going to imagine talk as if she is. Anne's had a couple of goes at this, which is interesting, and I'm going to be able to have a look at. She's effectively provided 2 sets, and the second one doesn't have an overview slide, but let's just have a look through and see what happens when she's made some changes. Making changes is part of the process of putting together a set like this. Getting something together and saying there's my Mark 1 is a really good step. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's a building process. So here's Anne's couple of steps in her building process. See what happens when she's putting together a set like this. Making changes, getting something together and saying there's my Mark 1 is a really good step. Getting something together, it doesn't have to be there's my Mark 1, it's a really good step. Here's Anne's it does a couple of steps in her building. It's a building process. So here's Anne's a couple of steps in her building process. Making changes is part of the process of putting together a set like this. Getting something together and saying, there's my Mark 1 is a really good set. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's a building process. So here's Anne's a couple of steps in her building process. It's a building process. So here's Anne's a couple of steps in her building process. Getting something together and saying, there's my Mark 1 is a really good set. Getting something together, it doesn't have to say, there's my Mark 1 is a really good set. Here's Anne's a couple of steps in her building process. So this is back to the start with her new arrangement. She's taken a couple out. So this is back to the start with her new arrangement. She's taken a couple out. So this is back to the start with her new arrangement. She's taken a couple out. So this is back to the start with her new arrangement. She's taken a couple out. So this is back to the start with her new arrangement. She's taken a couple out. So this is back to the start with her new arrangement. She's taken a couple out. Cool, that's it. You will notice that she took out the high key. There was a high key picture of a sort of a wharf in the water. And she took out, there was another Chinese man ringing a bell or something. I'm not quite sure that was it. I think the second one should have come out. The first one I really liked. The problem was when that was in that set, it was a high key image that stood all by itself and there was nothing else there with it. I'm going to suggest to Anne that she finds something else and makes it high key and does a high key treatment of another image and then puts that in there as a pair with it or to balance. I think that will be a better solution, and that would allow her to put that image, which I know she really likes, for it to stay within the set. The first three sat together really well. They were all kind of the same crop, and they went from bold, I dare say for me a little bit too bold in the colours that she's saturated with that yacht on the beach, but if that paired back a little bit, that would flow to the girl, and then the same kind of shapes and forms came to, I can't remember what it was now, but something, the waterfall, that's right, the waterfall, and then we went from the waterfall to the triptych. The triptych didn't work. Each of those images within the triptych, if you'd used that, if you're listening, Anne, if she'd used that image by itself and made it the same crop and form as the other ones, then we would have gone 1, 2, 3, 4 with a nice kind of flow. It could have flowed from that with a nature thing to the black and white lemur, which was a strong picture. We're already in black and white. We go to the black and white high key, and we go to another high key, and we come out the other end. I liked the way she flowed across, and that they were all the same from one start, from one that, whatever it is, 3x2-ish looking crop, and then we went to the end to that with more than 16 by 9, that sort of keyhole kind of view. That worked because it didn't go backwards and forwards, it just went continuously across, and there was a couple of quite strong pictures in that end set, I thought. So well on the way within the process for my way of thinking for that. So well done, Anne. I hope you can hear us. It worked because it didn't go backwards and forwards. That worked because it didn't go backwards and forwards. In that end set across, and there was a couple of quite strong pictures well on the way within the process. So well done, Anne. I hope well on the way within the process for my way of thinking for that. So well done, Anne. I hope you can hear us. That worked because it didn't go backwards and forwards. It just went continuously across, and there was a couple of quite strong pictures in that end set. And there was a couple of quite strong pictures well on the way within the process for my way of thinking for that. So well done, Anne. I hope you can hear us within the process for my way of thinking for that. So well done, Anne. I hope you can hear us. That worked and there was a couple of quite strong pictures across, and there was a couple of quite strong pictures well on the way within the process. Well done, Anne. I hope well on the way within the process. process for my way of thinking for that. So well done, Anne. I hope you can hear it. It works because it didn't go backwards and forwards. Well done, Anne. Across, and there was a couple of quite strong well on the way in the process within the process for my way of thinking for that. Well done, Anne. I hope well on the way within the process. Okay, there's the set there. I hope it'll stay there while we talk about it. Cool, it will. From the start, that very first image, I found it difficult to put in there. I think it's there to create something different and diverse, and it is different and diverse. Okay, there's the set there. It just seemed to start, and it definitely flows into the set, but then it doesn't relate to the next one as well as potentially it could, because it goes from there into a really good set of 4 images that are kind of tied together by circles. You know, I think it would start better with the Meraki boulders, and it could go from the boulders and the circle there to that circular shape, to the circle in nature, to another circle in nature, and then there's a colour tie that brings it across to the next one as we change track and we start talking about people looking at things. It's just a bit at the start. I struggled to get visually from that jumping image into the next one. Perhaps if there were 2 of those, I'm not saying the same jumping thing, but if there were 2 images that were kind of Photoshoppy, if you want to put it that way, they would sit together as a better pair. They could then sit in the middle of the set or towards the other end of the set, but in a cohesive place. So I found that worked. The colour transition between the circle looking in the sunset and the colour in the background of the guy, the statue or whatever he is, that worked, but the picture itself I couldn't make. It wasn't as strong as the others, I'll put it that way. Then went to the next one, which I really liked, and I liked the treatment, and I wondered if it might have been another way to do it, if you could take that last image and crop it in a similar way, so we've got the same form, it flows one into the other, and made that slightly more contrasty as well. So you could make a crop over this side of the image that matched the same crop of there, and then I think the message of looking would relate together better. There's a 4 image set in the middle which is really excellent, and then it gets a little bit lost at the end for me, but I think it's well on the way, and like I said, I'm going to be picky to point you in the good direction, so well done. Okay, Heidi's got a set of prints. Can we put the print lights on? I'll turn those around in a minute. So the secret prints at the moment that you can't see, but I'm going to come across and flip them around and talk to them about what I do. So what I'm going to do first of all, I've arranged them a little bit, and Heidi's actually did send me an arrangement, but it got lost in my email and I didn't see it. So I'm going to put them together the way I saw it, and then she can come and tell me how she actually did it. And I think they both work, because that's kind of how things work. So here's the projected image version of it before we move on. And Heidi's actually did send me I'm going to put them together the way I saw it, and she can come and tell me how she actually did it. I'm going to put them together the way I saw it, and she can come and tell me how she actually did it. So here's the projected image version of it before we move on. Kind of how things work. So here's the projected image version of it before we move on. An arrangement, but it got lost in my email and I didn't see it. So I'm going to put them together the way I saw it, and she can come and tell me how she actually did it. And I think they both work, because that tell me how things work. So here's the projected image version of it before we move on. So here's the projected image version of it before we move on. I'm going to put them together the way I saw it, and she can come and tell me how she actually did it. I'm going to put them together the way I saw it, and she can come and tell me how she actually did it. So here's the projected image version of it before we move on. How things work. So here's the projected image version of it before we move on. So here's the projected image version of it before we move on. Okay, can we have the lights back on, please? And we'll do the exciting reveal of the pictures. Now, these three at the start are the trip ones. Okay, can we have the lights back on, please? Stay. Okay, can we have the lights back on, please? Now, these three at the start now, they clearly sit together. Heidi showed me a picture of them vertically where they look much better, and it kind of works. For me, within the rest of the set, they don't sit as well together, and I struggle to see how that kind of comes into it, but they do sit well together, and they could be part of something. Each of the rest of them, I've put them together, and I think Heidi has as well, in pairs, and that's actually a really good way to think about putting these images together. So let's have a look at the pictures, the people to start off with. They do sit as well together, and they could be part of something. Kind of comes into it, but they do sit well together, and they could be part of has as well in each of the rest of them, and that's actually a really good way together, and I think Heidi has as well in pairs, and that's actually a really good way to think about putting these images together. So let's have a look at the pictures, how that kind of comes into it, but they do sit well together, and they could be part of the square form works well together. The other one doesn't kind of sit in it, but they are people pictures that flow together, and I think that they kind of work. The slightly grungy look on this is different enough from the form in this that the two of them work together. You might swap them back over and have them looking in towards each other, perhaps. I don't know. That's something that you need to think about when you're doing it. One observation, and I don't know where you're at with the matting and stuff, the fact that this one has a border around it on the inside, you need, when you present images for an honours set, for all the matting to be consistent, particularly in style and probably in size. But that's kind of well on the way. This is the green down here. On the inside, this one has, when you present images for an honours set, you need for all the matting to be consistent, particularly in honours set, probably in size. For all the matting to be consistent, particularly in style. This is the green down here, but that's kind of well on the way. This is the green, and again, the green works really well together. I think in your set you did it something like that. For all the matting to be consistent, particularly. Can't remember. It was something like that, and that works really well. And so you've got a counterbalance. This is sort of print set stuff we're talking about here. Take that one away or put that in the middle perhaps. I think in your set you did it something like that. And you've got three that sit well together here. Then we've got four that sit well together. There's seven. Another three somewhere on the top, and there's an A, an L, sorry. So that kind of works. That sort of balance throughout is the sort of thing you need to be thinking about when it comes to putting a print set together. Again, here, these are all kind of consistent. They do have the little border of them around them. This one, I think, needs to be cropped, the same as that one. Is the sort of thing you need to be thinking about. And then we had this, which is the sort of thing the ICM ones, and again, they flow together as a set. This one, I think, needs to be kind of well. There's a dark line that crosses over between the two pictures. This line here joins up between the two pictures. And even the bottom line works together. So they're two very similar images, but they sit together as one, and that's the sort of thing, to a degree, we need in an honours set. You would need to have, it's stretching the diversity thing a little bit in that they're both the same, and if somebody's looking for something, but it's getting benefit on the side that it's got really good sort of cohesiveness. The other thing that you did in your set arrangement was would need to have, It's stretching the diversity thing a little bit, and that they're both the same. Need to have somebody's stretching the diversity thing, and that works as well. Just another way to kind of look at it and think about it. We still have the cohesiveness between the two ICM images, but we've got something with kind of similar tonality sitting in the middle between the two. Yeah. So I'm going to leave it at that. I think that's well on the way to a set, and you're working really well. That's the sort of thing you need to be doing, rearranging pieces of paper and all that sort of stuff, and thinking about putting it together. And, well done, Heidi. Round of applause. I'm going to leave it at that. I think that's well on the way to a set. Okay. I'm going to leave it at that. I think that's well on the way to a set, rearranging pieces of paper working really well. Okay, what I want to do here to finish off, so that's the last of the entrance. So, as I said, we've had more in previous sets. In previous years, but it's really good opportunity to see how a print set comes together the way that Heidi's doing it, and we also got to see projected image sets. One of the other observations I'd make is when it comes to making those summary slides that have got all of them on, I recommend that people make a long, because it doesn't have to be on an A4 sheet. It doesn't get printed, it's a digital image. Some of the more successful people print will create their cover slide as a long continuous flow, because that's how you see it. So if it's visually represented that way, you tend to flow with your eye across it. If you make it up in rows like a print set, it's really easy to start thinking of it as a print set, and that's where you get jumpy bits. It makes sense and it's balanced and all that sort of stuff, like we were talking about with Heidi's set, but that's not what you're looking for in a projected set. So just something to think about. Okay, what I'm going to do here, and I'm going to wing this a little bit, but I just want to demonstrate some thinking about putting together a set of images from a kind of a body of work. So I've got some pictures here. Okay, what I'm going to do here that are on my holiday. So these are images from Africa, and I'm going to just try in Lightroom putting them together in a set. So just to have a bit of a look, because I'm going to get you guys to help me if anybody sees one that looks better when we put this together, because like I said, I'm just winging it. And we're just going to have thinking about the sort of things that we're looking for here. So there we go. Eating giraffes, birds, bit of landscape, some black and white, and some people. Okay, the challenge with this sort of thing is going to be showing diversity, because that's what you're going to have to do, is present something with diversity. And I'm kind of looking at this and going, what are most of these images? And most of the images are animals shot with a telephoto lens, because I couldn't get close enough to use a wide angle, basically. So most of them fit in that category. So I need to find some other categories and other things if I'm looking for a diverse set. The sorts of things I can consider are people. There's some people pictures, there's vehicles, basically anything to do with humans. I could look at some action shots. That would be slightly more diverse. I can put some birds instead of animals. I can show some landscapes. I can put some black and white. I can talk about different times of day. And unsurprisingly, there's a few ICM images found their way in there as well. So that's the sort of thinking I'm going to do. But the first thing I'm going to do is these came through from my kind of bigger collection. So there are some of them that have got 3-star ratings. So they are images that I individually like. So if we take that selection and go, I want to get 8 out of that, because those are images that I like, and it's bloody hard. They're all over the show. There's sort of some pairings. There's one picture of a car, but that's the only one that's got anything to do with people in it. that I really quite like the zebras along the top, and the next one across that you probably can't even tell what it is. I'll make it full screen so you can see it. It is a crocodile, and I really love that picture, but in terms of this set, there's nothing even vaguely like it in there, so that's going to be really hard to put in a set. Probably the same thing applies with the hippo and the sun, and yeah, that's a hard place to start. So that's what I wanted to make a point of with here, by just taking through my best images, that's the way I see it, trying to make a set out of my best. That becomes difficult. Some of them are going to make it, but some of them are not. So I'm going to go back to the original lot, and I'm going to go looking for those images. I wanted to be able to select colours, so I'm going to say that one. Some of them are going to make it, but some of them are not. Yellow. So I'm going to go that one. I like yellow. So I've got people. I've got an animal one. There's a baby animal one. I like baby animals. That one's a favourite just because it's a favourite, so it's going to go in. Some of them are going to make it, but some of them are not. There's some action. Maybe that needs to go in. I've got an animal one. There's a baby animal one. I like baby animals. There's a bird image. There's a baby animal one. That one's a favourite just because it's a favourite. 19. Which one's that? That one. Yeah, that's a better hunting one. Okay, I'll put him in. Maybe that needs to go in. This is going to take us all day if everybody likes them. But I'm going to take 24, that one. That leopard is just awesome. I'm going to take that one. I'm going to take that ICM one. Yeah, that's a better hunting one. Okay, I'll put take. Which one's that? That one. That one, because it's. I'm going to take people. 24. That one is a different technique of people. I'm going to take that one. 24. That one's running. I'm going to take that one. Leopard is just awesome. I take that one. And it's probably, maybe I'll take that one. That ICM one. So let's have a look at the yellow ones and see what we've got. People. Okay, there's all the yellow ones. Straight away, it kind of feels a bit more cohesive. How many are there? There's 14 and I need 8. So I've got to lose 6, so that's fine. Let's have a look. So I'm going to start with people. So let's go to straight away. Kind of feels a yellow one. Start with the van. Straight away, it kind of feels a bit more cohesive. So I've got to lose 6. So that's fine. And I'm going to put the van and then that guy. So I've got to lose 6. Those two kind of work colour-wise. Then we're all over the show with that yellow. So I need something with green that kind of works for its animals. So I'm going to take my giraffe up there. Kind of feels a bit more cohesive. Start with the van. Yep, that's a good idea. Those two kind of work colour-wise. Then we all over elephant. Yellow, so those two kind of work colour-wise. And then I'm going to go to this one because I wanted to get those colours in, and that's my favourite picture of the lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need 2 more. So I need to flow from there into sunset. That one. Those two kind of work colour-wise. And then that one there. I'm just going to try and get another one because I'm going to go to this one because I wanted to get those colours in. That's my favourite. So I need to flow from there. Another favourite that I didn't have in there before. Where is she? So I need to flow from there into sunset. And that one there. I'm just going to try and get another one because then that one there. I'm just going to try and get another one because I'm going to choose another favourite that I didn't have in there before. So I need to flow from there. Another favourite that I didn't put her there. So I need to flow from there. It's a leopard. So then that one there. I'm just going to try and get another one because there we go. There's 8. The only problem with that is this one is a different crop. So let's take that to the develop. Go crop. It's a leopard. So 3 by 2. Over to that side. Back to the library. The only problem with that is this one is a different crop. Slideshow. So the only problem with that is this one is a different crop. So let's take that to the develop. 3.2 crop. See if this works. Back to the library. Better. Problem with that is this one is a different crop. Better. Problem with that is this one is a different crop. So let's take that to the develop. This one is a different crop. So let's take. See if this works. See if this works. Back to the library. Better. Problem with that is this one is a different crop. So better. Problem with that is this one is a different crop. So let's take. See if this works. Is a different crop. See if this works. Back to the library. Better. Problem with that is. See if this works. Is a different crop. Better. Problem with that is this one is a different crop. Okay. Okay, let that stop, escape. Okay, my point from all that was to just have a look at it to see how useful Lightroom is when it comes to throwing these things around and reorganising things, but also to just demonstrate that the best pictures aren't necessarily the ones you want to put together in a set. My point from all that. Yeah. So just have a look at it. I did cheat a bit. I practiced that. I didn't. It's interesting. I didn't turn up with the same set the first time around when I did it the second time. So yeah. Hello. Things aren't necessarily the ones you demonstrate together in a set. The best pictures aren't necessarily the ones you want to put together in a set. I did cheat a bit. I practiced that. I didn't. It's interesting. I didn't turn up with the same. So I'm in the library module, and see where it says custom order down the bottom. It normally in the library module, that's in capture time. It defaults to it. Hello. So it goes back to all over the place. But see where my cursor is down there? I can go custom order, and then I can drag and drop library module. And see where it says custom order. So I'm in the library normally in the library module. And sometimes a good idea, if you get a set there like this, is you can just select the ones you want and you can drop them into the quick collection. Is a different way to do it. You can actually do different things with different stuff when you do that. Yeah, you can. Yep. Sometimes a good idea, if you get a set there like this. Good point. I've never thought of that, but that's a really good point because I've certainly done that before. Okay. I've just about had enough of talking, so I think that's a really successful set challenge. Thank you to everybody who entered that. And come and have a look at the books. I just want to finish off tonight back in my MC hat on to talk about what's coming up. Next week we have Joe Bine coming to talk about alternative process. So that'll be the 7 o'clock session. Looking forward to that. And the last competition of the year, PI number 8, is at the 8 o'clock session. After that, on the 6th of November, AV at the 7 o'clock, and Barry Dench's pictures from Africa, which I'm looking forward to seeing, at 8 o'clock, and the PI salon, which I already talked about, is the week after that, and then we're just about at the end of things, so AGMs and wind down stuff from there on. So that's it for tonight. Thanks for coming, everybody. A special super duper thanks tonight to Nerily for opening up and coming over here super early. Normally Dennis has the whole thing organised, but Nerily had it running on rails by the time I got here, so well done. Thank you very much for that. And so that's it. Guys up in the back, thank you for the sound and the pictures. Alistair for putting together the complicated viewing of 3 images. That worked well. And everybody for coming. Hope you enjoyed it. Special congratulations to people who got involved in the set challenge. Thank you. Come and have a look at the books and the WEA book. And everybody for coming. Hope you enjoyed it. Special congratulations to people who got involved in the set everybody for coming. Hope you enjoyed it. Special congratulations to people who got involved in the set challenge. Come and have a look at the books and the WEA book. Come and have a look at the books and the WEA book. Well, and everybody for coming. Hope you enjoyed it. Special congratulations to people who got involved in the set challenge. For coming. Thank you. Come and have a look at the books and the WEA book. come and have a look at the books and the WEA book. Pictures, Alistair. Come and have a look at the books and the WEA book. Everybody for coming. Hope you enjoyed it. Special congratulations to people.